Ontario's top court affirmed yesterday that the public interest in how the Algoma Public Health Unit hired a convicted fraudster to serve as its chief financial officer outweighs the privacy interests of the former medical officer of health who recommended his hiring. The ruling, which upheld a decision by the Privacy Commissioner, means APH can hand over a forensic report on the situation to a journalist who asked for it under Freedom of Information laws, despite the objections of the medical officer of health, Dr. Kim Barker. Court records show the case arose in 2013 when Algoma Public Health hired Sean Rothberg as its interim CFO for 6 months, and it was supposed to end his position in May of 2014. His hiring came after the previous CFO left amid criminal charges of breach of trust and theft. But Rothberg turned out to be Sean Rutenberg, who had a criminal record of his own for multiple counts of fraud. The revelation by Sue Today prompted Barker to resign in early 2015, sparking questions about her role in his hiring and whether the two had a personal relationship that had put her in an undisclosed conflict of interest. The provincial health minister ordered an assessment of Algoma Public Health, which was sharply critical of Barker's performance. In addition, the public health unit itself retained KPMG to do a forensic investigation into Rutenberg. Barker agreed to talk to the investigator on the promise of confidentiality, and KPMG reported its findings to the health unit in March of 2015. Then, Sue Today asked for the report under the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and the health unit decided to release it in its entirety, even though it contained sensitive personal information about Barker. Barker then appealed to the province's privacy commissioner, who found a compelling public interest in the disclosure of the record that outweighed her privacy considerations. She then turned to the courts. So in December 2017, Divisional Court sided with Barker after concluding the commissioner had failed to provide adequate reasons for finding that the public interest outweighed Barker's privacy interest. The commissioner appealed. The appellate court noted that Barker was a senior public official accountable to the community, the health unit board, as well as the Ministry of Health. Federal ministers played down notions yesterday that Senate committee amendments to the Liberals' gun bill would hobble the legislation. Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale suggested the government's intentions for Bill C-71 will be reflected in the final version of the legislation, despite efforts by Conservative senators to cut provisions they say penalize law-abiding gun owners. The government bill introduced last year would expand the scope of background checks on those who want to acquire guns. Instead of just the 5 years immediately preceding a license application, personal history questions would cover the applicant's entire lifetime. The bill would also force gun retailers to keep records of firearms inventory and sales, and require the purchaser of a hunting rifle or shotgun to present a firearms license, while the seller would have to ensure its validity. The legislation has been criticized by gun control advocates as too weak, while some firearms owners have called the bill an attempt to revive the ill-fated long gun registry. Conservative environment critic Ed Fast slammed the federal government yesterday for giving $12 million to help Loblaw stores make their refrigerators and freezers more energy efficient. Fast said Loblaw made $3 billion in profit last year, and yet the government is giving the company millions to buy fridges. This money came from hardworking Canadians, seniors, and low-income families who struggle to make ends meet. That's what Fast roared in question period yesterday. You tell me how many Canadians can walk into the Prime Minister's office, he added, and ask them to pay for a new fridge. How many? Why is it always the wealthy and well-connected who get handouts from the Liberals. The money will cover 1/4 of the costs of retrofitting the refrigeration systems in 370 of the company's supermarkets over the next 3 years. Loblaw is to invest $36 million in the project. McKenna defended the fund, saying the greenhouse gas emissions reduced through the project will cut Loblaw's overall emissions by nearly a fourth and be the equivalent of taking 50,000 cars off the road. This fund is not paid for out of revenues from the carbon tax. Rather, the money is coming from other government sources. The Hounds have a large hole to dig out of. They now trail the Saginaw Spirit 3-0. The Hounds dropped Game 3 by a final score of 7-5.